In the nation's capital tonight, a dramatic change after crime scenes like these. President Trump declaring a public safety emergency, deploying 800 National Guard troops to D.C. and taking control of the district's police department.
This is Liberation Day in D.C. and we're going to take our capital back.
That federal takeover can last up to 30 days without congressional approval. The troops set to fan out across D.C. over the next week, the White House says, to protect federal assets and deter violent crime.
It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness.
Even though crime statistics from the U.S. Attorney's Office in January said violent crime in D.C. was at a 30-year low, the police department says it was down 26% since last year. So why do this now?
Crime has gone down. Gone down from what? Gone down from when? Crime is way too high in the district. And, this namby-pamby response that, crime is down. No, it isn't down for the people who are victimized by crime.
The head of the police union tells NBC News the crime stats have been manipulated, and any talk of a recent drop in crime is preposterous. Still, the D.C. City Council calls the federal police takeover a manufactured intrusion on local authority, and the mayor says it caught her off guard.
I don't want to minimize the intrusion on our autonomy.
The move comes after a former DOJ employee was attacked during an attempted carjacking last week. Over the weekend, the president ordered the deployment of nearly 500 federal officers around the district, leading to several arrests.
He's taking federal control of the police, and that's just not okay. I feel like these are the sorts of things that you start to see in dictatorships.
Trump has deployed federal resources to cities before, including thousands of National Guard troops this summer to Los Angeles to quell immigration protests, and thousands of others to the southern border. The president saying federal intervention in other cities like New York and Chicago could be next.
We're not going to lose our cities over this, and this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick.
Gabe joins us now live from the White House. Gabe, there was another big headline today about the release of those Epstein grand jury transcripts. What happened?
Yes, Tom, a federal judge today denied the Justice Department's request to unseal grand jury materials in the criminal case of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice. The judge said that the grand jury materials do not identify anyone other than Epstein or Maxwell as having had sexual contact with a minor. Tom?
We thank
Federal law enforcement is out again here in Washington, D.C. This comes after President Trump's decision to federalize the police force in Washington, D.C. But this is already causing some community outrage. Watch. This was the scene overnight at a checkpoint along one of the city's busiest streets. Protesters made clear their feelings about the increased federal law enforcement presence. A commander with D.C. police told CNN it was a routine operation. Joining us now is Washington, D.C. City Council member Charles Allen. Charles, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, what do you know about this checkpoint set up on the very popular 14th Street near U Street Northwest here in Washington, for those people who know the area? Is that typical for law enforcement in that area?
Well, what's routine is that MPD will do, and has been for a number of years, conducting traffic safety checkpoints. That's everything from looking for impaired drivers to looking for outstanding warrants. They make arrests occasionally from that, but it's constitutional and legal, and we haven't had protests around those because they're largely effective. It's also where community policing takes place. MPD will even look to check and make sure someone's car seat is installed correctly. So those have been standard for the last several years. They've had good effect around getting at dangerous drivers. What's different is now you've got all these federal law enforcement folks. They don't wear a badge. They don't wear their name. They're covering their faces. And that's very different. And what you see from the community reaction is what I'm concerned about, that federal law enforcement fundamentally changes the dynamic of community policing. They're not trained for it. They're not equipped for it. And it just amps everything up in a way that's very unconstructive and can lead to actually more dangerous situations.
President Trump just a little while ago said crime here in Washington, D.C. is, quote, totally out of control. His words, I'm quoting once again, worse than ever. What's your response to that?
Well, we need to be able to call out the lie where it is. And that's just simply not true. He continues to say it, but it is not true. He's painted this dystopian vision, and it just doesn't track with the facts on the ground. Over the last 2 years, we have driven crime down by about 50% of violent crime. Now, listen, everybody will be the first to say any crime is one too many. And so we still have work to do. We still have progress, but that happens best with the coordination between the mayor, the council, the community, MPD, because that's what's gained and had the gains over the last several years. The federal law enforcement aspect, putting military members on the streets of our city, does not make us safer.
Has the administration been communicative with local officials like yourself about its strategy here?
Oh, I don't know if there really is a strategy. There's been no word from the administration to myself. When I talk to members of the council, we're not hearing anything. And I think that's part of the problem. It's even created chaos and disorder even within MPD, where command staff and officers on the ground aren't quite sure who's calling the shots, what is the strategy. So there's a lot of bluster that we'll see from behind a podium or in front of a camera from the administration, but we're not seeing an actual coordinated strategy or frankly, the willingness to come in as partners. And that's the problem, because there are a number of ways the federal government could come in as a partner, and that could actually be a good thing, but we're not seeing that.
I want to play something for you, Councilman, and get your response on the other side. Listen and watch this.
And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
That was the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, describing an incident involving a man who allegedly threw a sandwich at a federal law enforcement officer. The individual has been charged with assaulting a federal police officer. Give me your reaction, Councilman, to all of this.
I hope every American out there can understand the incredible irony that is taking place right now. The very same administration that pardoned hundreds, thousands of people who committed violent acts against our police officers here in D.C. on January 6th in an attempt to overtake the Capitol, and pardoned all of those convictions on assaults on a police officer who tried to harm and kill our police officers, and she wants to throw the book at a guy that threw a sandwich. Take the irony of that, and that tells you everything you need to know about how serious they are actually trying to be.
What's up out there, YouTube? This is James coming back at you with another informative video. I hope you guys are doing well out there on this beautiful warm Thursday. I'm doing well myself. Well, now you can see that Trump is now deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C. to clean up crime. And it is going to be nationwide eventually. It's going to Chicago as well. I'm sure some of you guys already heard about it, about what Trump is doing. The only thing I also ask is he also get the white collar crime, some of the people that he worked with, as well, that do their crime from in governmental offices. That makes it even better. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they get their crime, and their crime, somewhat is even worse. But back to, what's going on out here in these streets and what Trump is saying he's trying to stop. I'm down with it. You understand what I'm saying? Even though a lot of these dumbasses, and I'm talking about some of our people, have given the stick to the devil to kick your ass with it. You understand what I'm saying? You deserve it. You see, I just seen a story. You know what I mean? I said I was going to plan on doing. I've come across so many upsetting stories to the point to where sometimes I'll be just like, okay, I either drag my foot about doing it or I don't do it at all. You know what I mean? But a young mother was walking her child in Louisville, Kentucky to the bus stop. And do you know that she was shot and killed? 15-year-old boy did it. See what I'm saying? He got a gun. I don't know where he got the gun from. You know what I mean? And did this to this woman just walking her child to the bus stop. Okay? I see so many horrific stories like this. And the carjackings, street takeovers. You see what I'm saying? On the corners and all little kind of stuff. Where they get in there and they act like they're in some kind of movie, like the Fast and the Furious. You know what I'm saying? Doing donuts in the middle of an intersection. I'd be like, where the damn police at? All up in Indianapolis, Chicago, you know what I mean? Detroit. They carrying on like this. Los Angeles. is civil unrest, as it is. So let him do what he do. I don't give a damn. I personally don't. You know what I'm saying? But to actually bring us to this little story right here with a little, you know, which I know ain't nothing but a little joke. You know what I'm saying? About, you know, the dude getting arrested with the sandwich. Funny to me, but like I said, this some bull. That's all. They ain't giving this dude no felony. He's just call themselves trying to make an example on how serious they are about cleaning up crime. All this basically is going to boil down to is martial law. All right, I'm gonna just put it to you like that. But to get into this article right here, DOJ fires, charges staffer who threw sandwich at federal agents deployed in DC. Okay, he threw a sandwich at this federal agent, and it goes on to say here, a man who admitted throwing a sandwich at a federal law enforcement officer deployed in Washington DC worked at the Justice Department and has been fired, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Thursday. According to charging documents, Sean Dunn allegedly threw a submarine-style sandwich at a Customs and Border Patrol officer stationed at a busy intersection in Northwest Washington, D.C. on Sunday. What is this? Is silly. In video of the incident that was cited in the charges, Dunn can be seen yelling at the agent and other officers in his vicinity before throwing the wrapped sandwich at the officer's chest. Dunn attempted to flee on foot before being apprehended, documents and video of the incident shows. According to the affidavit, Dunn yelled, "F you, you effing fascist." Okay, fascist. Who are you? Let me say, why are you here, rather? I don't want you in my city. Before crossing the street, he later returned and threw the sandwich. Dunn, according to the documents, confessed after he was arrested, telling law enforcement, "I did it. I threw a sandwich." Okay, wow. This is comical to me, you know. Goes on to say here, in a post on X Thursday, Bondi wrote, she had just learned that this defendant worked at the Department of Justice no longer. Not only is he fired, he has been charged with a felony. Well, shit. See, this is what I'm talking about. You think just because he worked at the Department of Justice, you know, that he can't be a criminal. You see what I'm saying? Please, that's where some of the biggest criminals at. That's where they working at, okay? This is an example of the deep state we have been up against for 7 months as we work to refocus DOJ. Bondi continued. You will not work in this administration while disrespecting our government and law enforcement. According to a Justice Department source, Dunn Office of International Affairs within the department's criminal division. Dunn's likened page says that he worked as a trial attorney at the department. He is charged with 1 count of assaulting federal law enforcement. No plea has been entered in the case, nor has a hearing been scheduled as of Thursday afternoon. CBS News has reached out to his attorney, Janine Pirro, who we watched, you know what I'm saying he got a felony for throwing a sandwich, okay? The U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. said in a video and announcing the arrest that her office is going to back the police to the hill. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else. You know where she talking about him sticking it, okay? Dude, please, this is comical. Look, he got an attorney, you know what I'm saying? They gonna wind up some kind of like melting this shit down like nothing. I don't know, get some community service or something like that. He gonna get his job back. That's even if this is real, okay? But in conclusion here, it says federal law enforcement and National Guard members were deployed to the District of Columbia this week in an attempt to stop crime in the nation's capital, despite data showing crime has declined in the city in recent years. Ain't no crime decline nowhere in no city. You see what I'm talking about? They don't do nothing but lie about that. You can see for yourself that crime is not declining in this country. All you gotta do just keep up with the current events. You know what I mean? By watching these news clips and stuff like that. Follow my channel. You will see I do a lot of that stuff. You see what these people out here doing. And then also in your own community. You know what I'm saying? With the crazy things these people doing. I also found a story I haven't did yet. You know, here over here, James and Joan INS. That means Independent News Service. You see what I mean? We get a bit swamped because we understaffed, if you understand what I'm saying. But I come across a story where some subs had a baby, a child, tied up and was letting the dog, using the child as a chew toy for the dog. Do you hear me? Yeah, for a chew toy, just letting the baby get bit up by the dog. This is sick. You see what I'm saying? They are too lax and lenient on these sick criminals. And the babies in these day and age, they don't stand a chance. I just don't know what it is. I seen another story, you know what I mean, about some chick. I plan on doing that one too. But anyway, she actually took her baby out. 1 year old, I think the baby was. She took it out, killed it, and then placed the baby inside the back of a hearse, acting like she don't, and trying to make people think don't nobody know how the child got there. First, she was carrying around the baby just like it was a toy. All right, I think rigor mortis has set up in the baby. You know, just stuff like that. These people who are doing these things need to be put. They need to instantly be put to death, as far as I'm concerned. Once you know they did it. Now, as far as the dude that threw the sandwich, he ain't nothing that serious. So what? He hit the dude with the sandwich, busted him in the chest. So what? They ain't nothing, you know. But we more concerned about these sick crimes, you know, that we seeing out here in these streets. Okay, where a mother can't walk her child to a bus stop. That's sick. Something needs to be done about it. So, oh well. Bring them. Even though it's bringing about martial law, but this is what they asked for, so whatever. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this particular situation right here. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. People, please remember to live your life as though we're being watched. Simply because we are. This is James, and I'm out.